too.
And
Somehow we'd have to recoup that.
that's what we would want to see happen.
Right. So until that happens, we're kind of stuck in sewer money.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
are. We don't want to step out of Sumo
Right.
at this
I know.
point whatsoever because of the investment there. Do we want to move into Mount Nebo Water Association at this point?
So let me bring up a point here. I was ready to just say, go fly a kite, go do your own thing until you brought up the mitigation plan.
Oh.
Because that particular area, I talked with in the last week, 2 different city council members from Payson, 2 board members of the Highline Canal, and all of them have come to me and have said, you need to stay engaged here to some degree, because this, and I was a little hesitant, and then you brought the mitigation, I'm like, well, I guess I would say something, but the mitigation plan and what their plans are to use that water in that canal, once that thing is enclosed, they plan on moving water through that year round. And obviously you're not irrigating crops in the middle of December. What are you doing? You're pumping it back into the aquifer for mitigation purposes, because they know that when they enclose that canal, 1/3 of the water that's going into the ground that's feeding our wells and all the farmers' wells and everybody else's wells from the mouth of Spanish Fork Canyon all the way out into Goshen are all gonna be impacted, and they've gotta have, that is their mitigation plan, because quite frankly, they're afraid that when they enclose that, there's gonna be so many protests on anything else going forward, they've got to have that. And I'm not comfortable with the amount of money they're asking us to contribute at this stage of the game, but I think that we need to go back to them and say, okay, look, we're gonna make a donation in kind. We're giving you all of our studies. We still wanna be a player here. We wanna be included in the mix. But there's some other things that are going on you need to just kinda hang tight on that I think we may have a seat on this board yet, even though we're not, because of some changes that may be coming.
Yeah, and right now and I think that's a good insight, the mitigation.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I feel like we need to be involved with it. I mean, honestly, because we're not gonna, we've seen the numbers from an engineering firm, and it just doesn't pencil out. I mean, you wanna talk about looking forward? We've looked forward, we took our crystal ball out and we had them polish it, and we saw a vision and it was not pretty, and we said no with that issue. So I just, but when it comes to this, you know, it may be that we become one of the recharge sites. You know, I mean, the city has property where we know the water flows real well into the ground. That right now, I mean, it rained, as hard as it rained yesterday, as soon as I drove past the public works building, you couldn't even tell there was water in the pond, because it was already gone. I mean, we do have the right makeup, and they did look at ground in and around Elk Ridge when the study was done with Sumwa as a recharge site 6 or 7 years ago. Because what they want to do is kind of along the canal system, from what I remember of the study, they had there was spacing so that Spanish Fork could get credit and Woodland Hills could get credit, and Salem and Elk Ridge and Payson and everybody along the canal, and there was a way where they felt like based on where the big wells were, that was where they were gonna do it. And if we're gonna have 2 major wells within throwing distance of the Highline Canal, you know, it would be good to have something in our general vicinity.
Brittany?
So.
Yeah, so my thought on this is, I know we don't see like a huge benefit to us right now of joining it, but when all the cities around us are looking at joining this, I would hate for us to say no, and we lose a vote and a say and a person on the technical committee, and somebody to really be involved and to know what's going on with the water all around us. Because when we drill our well and people say, we need to have good relations with all our neighbors, because if we're the one town not in that whole city, not in the agency, and we drill our well and it causes problems, they're all gonna team up and come after us. If we're as part of that, you're breaking up the chances that you're gonna have it so one-sided.
But right
And
now,
I mean,
how
so-
many are on it? Did they tell you when you had that meeting? Who's,
There are,
They've got a
I
bunch of
think there's like
different,
7 different board members
and we've talked about
near that number.
it, that we should be on it, but are we gonna I know you said, are they gonna give us a board even though we're a small town and we're paying a lot less and
That's why I said, I think if we're going, we need to be all in. We need to have somebody on the
Yeah, you said
technical
that last
committee, we need to have a voting, you know what I mean? We need to have a voting position, and we need to be a part of it. And if there's anything that we can find that would benefit our city, but I think, you know, like $5,000, our budget's so tight, it is a lot of money, but then again, I think 10 years down the road, somebody's gonna be sitting here and saying, I can't
That's
believe for
stupid.
$5,000, they didn't join the agency, we have no say in what's happened, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know,
true.
to me, that's what I just
The
am,
cost of mitigation that we will have to put into
oh, it's
play
way more than that.
will be far, far in excess of the $5,000. $5,000 was just to fund
The study.
a study.
Oh, and
That's
then,
all it
and
is.
then we'll have
Then
fees.
there will be ongoing annual fees, and then again, it will be based proportionately on
Right.
size of the population of the agency involved.
Yeah.
So,
Is it possible to tell them like what Nelson said, like we have something in the works, we
yes and no.
leave the door open?
Well, see, all of the other cities have already given their studies
Oh.
and they paid their share as
Okay.
well. Some of them paid dramatically more than $5,000.
Yeah, of course.
So $5,000, yeah, it's a lot of money, and I appreciate the insight. That's very timely and very worthwhile.
It's also split between 2 years, right?
Yes.
So it'd be 2,500
$2,500.
per year, so I mean, so.
And the annual fees, again,
But then
because
you-
there's administration, but it's gonna be, those annual administrative fees are gonna be split between about 4 cities, 5 cities,
Right.
Highline Canal,
The water, Goshen.
the Goshen Valley.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be split in a lot of different ways.
Did they give you an estimate on what that would be?
The
or-
administrative fees, mm-mm.
No idea.
Well,
And
we've had
it's
our-
been too long since I've been to one of the meetings that I couldn't answer that for you now either.
So I think that's what we need to find
Is it-
out, is what the,
Sue was like 12K, isn't it? Something like
15,
that.
I thought.
How much we
12.5.
paying to Sue my each year, do you know?
Oh,
what?
it's
I
in the
think they just
budget.
voted 12.5.
Is it worth, approaching them with, like, an offer of 35 plus all of our studies? And see what they
They
say,
can
or
say no.
would they be,
Well, I think a discussion just needs to be had and said, what is the value of our information to you against this study that you've been conducting? We paid $25,000 for that study. What's the value? We can certainly approach it.
I think it's worth approaching, and then make a decision then, and if 5,000 is the best you can do.
Well, and how
fine,
much
but,
will it be every year?
We can find out.
well, so,
So
it's
who plays
25.
hardball the best?
yeah, the administrative cost, because the 5,000 was just for the phase 2 study that they're going to do.
Well, right now, I've asked
Oh, yeah.
Tied to be-
Ty to be our representative there, and that's, and all he has to
And-
do is prepare a couple of graphs and we'll be set.
And we need to keep
That's
it,
right.
we need to keep him in that position.
We do.
Because there may be an opportunity for us to get a second seat if we keep him there. Through another channel.
Okay,
Do we make a decision right now?
I
I think we
think
should.
we need, oh, we do. Don't we wanna know administrative costs before we,
I think you'll find that they're going to be minimal compared to the 5,000.
you do?
If you want, I can.
No, that's fine,
I can
it's,
make-
I just didn't know, I
We
I
can
mean,
think
make
we
some
should
are we
find
gonna
out,
be paying 12.5 a year too? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's what I wanna know before I'm
We'll
saying yes
bring it
to
up
it.
at our next council meeting, and between now and then, I'll have
We'll
administrative
get
costs.
I mean, don't you guys wanna know that
Thanks.
too?
yeah, I think we need to find, besides the
No,
study
I think
cost,
that's
what
a
the
good idea.
administrative cost is,
Just
how,
put that on
if we're
our
a
agenda
voting
for next
member,
time.
how many
Okay.
voting members there are. So
Yeah.
we know kind of our,
Okay.
there are some more information.
What kind of player do we get to be for our dollars? Okay, thank you. City property decision. Are you ready for making the decision, or do you want the information back from Ty first?
I would like to have the information from the survey, just to back
Your decision.
my decision so that when,
It makes
if
sense.
and when I make a decision that upsets a portion of the community, which I'm sure I will, no matter which way I go, I've at least got something to back up and say, well, look, here's where we're at. It's gonna be another 25K to water this park, and then we're gonna need another part-time summer help, and we're gonna need and it's gonna cost us X amount of dollars if we do this option versus the other. This is what we got, I mean,
And then can you
acreage.
email me
That's
that
what I
canned
think-
response?
Yeah.
I can use it.
I think we need to base our decisions on data and use
Yes.
the survey results. There's no reason to do a survey if we're gonna make decisions without.
If you'll put that on our next council meeting as well, please.
I'm gonna have to quit my full-time job.
You
and just
might.
Work on survey data.
I mean,
Yeah.
this pays enough to
Oh,
support a
yeah.
family.
Oh, man, it does, doesn't it?
I'll bring you the donuts.
Yeah. You might have to give me an office down here. My
You might have
wife's
to give
gonna
me some
kick
bread
out.
so this week's.
Yeah.
That's what the garage is for,
She's
right?
gonna kick me out to the
Let's keep
garage,
moving.
that's the
It's
problem.
almost 9 o'clock. County property annexation decision. Nelson had a concern.
My concern with the county property is this. If the property owner comes to the city and says, I've got this ground and I wanna do something with it, and the only way I can do something with it is if it's within your city, okay, I'm open for discussion. Because then they're the ones taking their property where they have the rights associated with that ground in the county and coming to us, and their rights are now going from here to here. If we're out and we go out and we tell them, we wanna annex your ground in, and we go the other way, we're taking them from here down to here and taking away their rights associated with their property. That's my only concern. I've never, at least as far back as I can recall, I've never voted to annex any ground in where the property owner didn't petition. I've never voted to change the zoning on the property unless the property owners requested it, because
Okay.
I feel like that's how it needs to be.
This proposition is not to annex the property. This proposition is to designate in the master plan this area as a commercial area available to come in. Anybody who comes in and wants to annex and they want to petition something different, they have the right to do that. But right now, we keep looking at a budget deficit every year. And every year, for how many years, we got 5%, 13,000, 1/10 of 1% added to our budget through a tax rate increase. Maybe we can't entice the right kind of business. Interestingly enough, I didn't prompt this, I just happened to see a member of the community today. He came to me as we were in the parking lot down at Stokes, and he said, when is the city going to come to understand that there's only so much money available in a property tax to sustain, once the growth is done, we've got the one-time dollars that come in, and now we've completely, and that was his statement, and we've talked this through.
Yeah.
When those one-time dollars are gone, we have to somehow maintain it. And we have two options, or three options. We cut service somewhere. We increase a tax rate. We find another source of income. This individual suggested some kind of a high-tech, low-impact business. We just have to decide if some high-tech company would want to come into Elk Ridge, marvelous, but what kind of a tax benefit do we get? Because
Only if
that
they're
right
selling.
now, that's just property tax,
That's all you do.
unless we wanted to impose some kind of a fee for high-tech, low-impact industry.
Well, they're not gonna come then. I mean, I'm just.
Well,
Does the city pay, every city's paid?
Yeah, Lehigh just doesn't have room for everybody. Maybe they'll come this year.
I don't know, I think
Well,
they're
we're
growing
not
right.
really-
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do,
But I'm just suggesting somewhere along the line, we better make a decision. It appears one of those three options is gonna have to be, unless somebody can tell me that there's a fourth option or a fifth or a sixth. I don't know. And if there is, I'm willing to hear it.
I have a couple questions. In order to write codes for a business, do we need to put that in the master plan? Like, cause right now we have no
Yeah.
They're working on
business
that.
codes, and I want
We
it,
have one that's already been basically written. Jim
Okay.
has, on his own,
It's a rough draft.
It's a rough draft of
Yeah,
concept,
so we're doing that commercial code.
so that, we are limited in scope. There is not
Of course.
Yeah,
much property in the city.
Yeah.
Now, all we're saying is, with this decision, are we interested in maintaining a bedroom community only? If that's what we want, we can do that. And we have a lot of people that would like to see just that. But to facilitate the growth, we'll get the one-time growth, and then we're also going to get the increased tax revenue from each of those additional homes. There's gonna come to a point when we're maxed out. There is no more growth, but the maintenance is still there.
I do have another question. So that land that's not annexed in, it's county property right now.
It's in the county's area. It's not
But-
county.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Just
meant, yeah,
want-
county,
just
it's, but it's,
clarified, that's
yes,
all I wanna do.
okay. But it's technically within when we have those little agreements,
in our
whatever, it's
annexation
in our annexation, but
area.
could they potentially annex to Salem, just out of curiosity? Could they say,
They
oh,
could
Oak Ridge
petition-
doesn't want commercial, well then I'll do, I just wanna know that because if they're gonna come in either way, then I want it to be where we control it with our code. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to ask. I wanna make sure
See, we have.
that we're covering
We
ourselves.
have one developer who wants to annex on the west side of 1600 on Oak Ridge Drive. But right now, the agreement between us and Payson is, no, that's Payson's, and Payson will fight us. They don't want to let go of that annexation area.
But do the property owner have more of a right, or no?
They should.
Okay, what they should and what they do is kind of left up to attorneys and legislators, those kinds of situations. Could they petition? Yes. One of the problems right now is Payson City cannot provide the infrastructure without a tremendous amount of dollars. But they are willing to hold on to that property until a big developer comes in and wants to put in high-end homes in that area. That's what they've expressed. That's part of their master plan. Now, the All Red Orchards come into play there. Right now, they're a protected, ag-protected zone. In fact, there's a hearing this week, next week, to increase the size of their ag protection zone. They're planting more orchards off to the north and
It's them and
east.
Brian Smith that are both.
Brian's doing, anyway. It's an increase, so, they're wanting to hold out because that's an area that would have to be part of this annexation. We could annex in, we could provide service there. But I'm, at this point here, because at this point, wanna be the proper neighbor. Payson doesn't want us to annex them in, they want it, it's part of their plan. There was an agreement years ago, I don't know that it's documented anywhere, but do we wanna go in and actively fight Payson to say, no, we want it, and we wanna take this to court? Where is, where's that line that we wanna,
Well, that's the
I
thing.
think that, I think you leave that to the property owner, and if they wanna
But that's
fight
what I'm
it,
saying, what if the property owner buys
There's no
that
question,
that property and then develops it and,
it is the
we
property owner's fight,
sure.
but we could participate in the fight, is what I'm saying.
But if they're gonna put it there either way, but because we're only a bedroom, this is what I'm saying, if they're gonna put it there either way, and because we're a bedroom community, we don't allow it, so then it goes under Salem's
code.
codes, and next thing I know, we have a chain link fence with the barbed wire, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying worst case scenario, but I'm trying to think
That's
ahead
a
like
pretty
this.
picture.
They have more lights.
Don't forget about all the
Then
light
I would have
pollution.
rather had it be in our city where we have a code, something hopefully kind of like Park Cities or whatever, that it looks nice, because if it's gonna be there either way, since right now it's not in either city, and we do have Salem City just right over here, right by where it's at. I just, you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, cause the neighbors are still gonna be mad, and then we had no control. Well, I guess then maybe we yell at Salem City.
Convince me that it's prudent to designate this as potential commercial annexation before we have code.
No, oh, I agree. I'm not saying let's do that. I'm saying if we have someone interested, then I think we really need to start.
And we do
So,
have,
wait,
We do have someone
Code
interested in
used to
talk to
be.
you.
yeah, it used to be
It used to be,
part of.
of our old general plan before the current one, I was trying to find it on the internet way back long to find it. But it used to be, that corner and the other corner
I
on
understand
Lower
that, I
Canyon and
understand that.
112.
Still doesn't mean it was prudent
No,
to do it without any code.
at that stage.
Right now, the only code
They're doing
says it's
code.
gotta be under 35
Jim's
feet.
developing that commercial code.
So,
Right, so I'm like,
Okay,
talk to me about this when we have code.
Brittany?
yeah, so I agree with Ty on this issue. I don't think we should designate commercial property and then somebody wants to annex it in and it's like, we allow it, but if we have no code, we can't control what goes in there. So I think we need to have our code in place. Secondly, if we are going to have commercial property, the only way commercial is gonna come in is if it's viable.
No question.
And the only place in our city that is really gonna, the place in our city that would generate the most traffic is down on that corner between Elkridge Drive and 11200. So whether it's the north side or south side of the road, just that property in general, if you're looking at the city as a whole and we need commercial property, where in the city would we have the most traffic flow to make the commercial property viable, it would be right down in that area. My concern is, right, once we designate commercial, I think we need to designate the type of commercial because
No question.
one of the
Has to
thing with city residents is they said, yes, I mean, the majority said we would rather have commercial here than property tax increase. Based on the survey results, but we don't want commercial here if it's for purposes other than to bring in sales tax. So if somebody comes in and builds a medical office and a dental office and a high-tech company,
And we're not getting.
then we're not getting any tax revenue. And then we have business in Elkridge with no benefit
I
to the
agree.
citizens. And so, but the things that are gonna be tax revenue are your restaurants, your gas stations, because that's where the revenue comes is from sales tax, not from services.
No question.
And the
And
other,
it could be in fact a combination.
Could be.
One, a public service facility can also be intermixed with the other because as they come here, they then will potentially visit some of the other sites that's where you could do a combination.
the,
Nelson,
okay, so the other thing here, and it's not lost to me, is they come in and we have a big enough commercial structure, remember that fire truck?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that whole discussion too. We gotta be forward thinking enough about that whatever we allow within our code, that it isn't so big that now it just, oh yay, we get $20,000 a year in sales tax, but it just cost us $750,000 because we had to go buy a new truck. Now we've got it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, and I,
Absolutely.
There is a commercial code that's very poorly written.
It is.
And if somebody wanted to come in, annex in the city with our existing commercial code, they do almost anything, we couldn't stop them right now.
Yeah, I think it only has like a setback or something, or a height in it, right?
Really vague.
It's like they can build right next to a property line and all kinds of. That's why I say,
And
convince me that it's prudent to do this before we have, because I don't think it is. And I think we
I
can be
agree.
pretty close to a code that would then give the developer, the owner of the property, an understanding of what he's looking at when he goes to do the actual annexation.
but the other thing that's not being talked about is if we don't do this, then we get the other two.
that is,
And the other may be more of a certain developer's style of building that we've
we've
gotten
already,
pretty good feedback from the residents.
we've
Are you talking
already,
about Salisbury?
I didn't say it.
I built with them.
Well, I know.
we already have had a proposal to take for someone to buy that property and put in twin homes, that sort of a thing.
And that's,
And that's one of my biggest concerns.
that's why we need to get this commercial code figured out so that commercial,
It becomes an option for us and restricts some of the other options that right now we're kind of incumbent to consider.
Can I ask questions to people in the audience that I know are here about this very thing?
Yes.
Those of you who live by it, say there's someone that's already interested in buying land, has already talked to the mayor, knows what he wants to do, it's actually across the street. It wouldn't be right behind you guys, it would be across the street, okay?
North side.
And they're gonna come in. Would you rather we annex them and control that? Or just, cause they could go to Salem City, you know the development, there's the, like the self-help ones, and then next to that is Salem City with the bright lights. So they technically could. What
And the
would
other side
you
of the
rather
canal
we
is
do? I
Salem
mean,
too.
I really wanna know, like, what would you prefer? I know you'd prefer not to have it, but I'm saying it very well could happen.
No, that's never gonna, you go down to Salem, they have commercial buildings that are empty and have been empty. Commercial's not gonna come in unless they feel it's viable.
Absolutely.
No,
We are-
but he
we are-
has people that want to.
No, they have people that may propose things, but once you start trying to run the numbers and thinking of the viability of commercial in this community, nothing's viable. You put a gas station there, I guarantee you it'll fail. You put a restaurant there, it'll fail. And then what are we left with? Ugly buildings that sit there and become eyesores that
Okay, but-
impact our view.
No, I know what you're saying, but listen to what I'm saying.
I get what you're
Do
saying.
you want Salem City's codes or ours? Cause someone may, if it's gonna happen,
If that was
What do
a
you
worst case
prefer?
scenario, absolutely, I want us to have control. And if that's what you're trying, but you're talking about such a theoretical thing that
Actually-
there's no way that that's a likely possibility based off of what's currently viewable.
We
Can
can
you just
take the
annex it
same,
and keep it residential?
we can
It's not
do
Oh, what is it right
basically,
nothing, county.
I also, if you annex it, you decide.
The current plan is in the future residential, the current plan shows
it
the
is
future
currently zoned or in a master plan for a residential.
Yeah.
residential. Current plan is future residential.
There
Yes.
can't be apartments.
I did,
And-
that's
and
true.
That right
It's
now,
high density right now.
well,
It's
it's,
not high density, it's the same
it is
as ours.
not.
Where Salisbury was high density.
It's the same as
what we have
right now.
They chose not.
it doesn't have
but
to
once
be.
again, the property owner, don't they have some say?
The property owner has a certain amount of say, but a lot of them are not willing to take the fight. And the other issue is Payson does not want us to annex west of 1600. We can simply say, Salem, this is our annexation zone, you stay out of it. And we can take the fight there if we choose to. Now, is it viable or not? I don't know, I understand the numbers, I've been working on this for 2 years. But that doesn't mean I have the bottom line answer either. So I don't want an eyesore. Everybody that I've talked to about this commercial property, I've given my vision of this whole thing. It's gotta be something that's viable, something you can see succeed. I still have got to get some numbers. I've got one person I've been trying to come just talk to me, just tell me. And so far, I can't get them to respond to me so that we can find that out. We can certainly leave it and we can bring in residential. And without question, the property owners, if they had the chance to sell it, and it is currently zoned residential, Salisbury is the one who have come in. And they have asked, well, they have proposed, not to me directly, but they have talked to our city planner 2 or 3 times. And they keep saying, well, where are you? Where are you? We want to come in, we want to come in. And what they want is high-density housing. But the planning commission and the city council have the ability to say, no. So,
What about a cemetery in there?
I've been in
Is
touch.
that viable? Is that revenue producing?
No.
If it's privately owned, do they have to pay taxes?
Let me tell you where we're at on cemetery at this point. We had a developer who did the cemetery in Mapleton. I don't know if any of you've seen it. Right on Maple. It's right on Maple Street, and to look, I went there once I found out that they had done it. They were proposing initially, they'll do it jointly, city, private. And Mapleton City said, we're not gonna do that. Because it's a high maintenance issue. You've got the lawns, you've got the water, you've got all of the other issues that go with the park, plus you've got lots more trimming around headstone, what have you. But they decided to do it. They had a lot of opposition. And one of the loudest persons, even though these two men came in and they put it in, they were the first ones to buy plots.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon, but it isn't a great moneymaker. His comment to me was, if we could do this in your community someplace, and what we will do with Mapleton, at some point, we would probably turn it over to Mapleton City after they have recouped their development costs. They get out of it what they put into it, they turn the maintenance over to the city, which I see their point, but on the other hand, that's an option. So we spoke with him, and as soon as I talked with him about it, he had already spoken with a resident of our city who has property, and they had discussed this about a year or so ago. After our discussion, he called this resident and said, I just had the discussion with the mayor and we're looking at some different things, and the resident said, get back with me as soon as you get more information. After you've talked with the mayor, let me know. And so initially, it looked like it was gonna go. There was 20 acres available to begin with a 4 or 5 acre parcel to begin with the potential to expand if needed. It would have served Woodland Hills, Mapleton, we're not Mapleton, are we? Elk Ridge, sorry, Salem. It could have served this whole part of the valley. And it sounded like it was gonna go. They had to dig some holes. They had to see what kind of, what soil, I'm sorry. They had to look at a lot of different things.
Geology.
That's the word, appreciate it. I went to Snow College.
We went to Utah State.
And Utah State. Anyway, the point is, it sounded like it was going to go. And then I got a call back and said, the resident has decided against it because another developer was fearful that that cemetery would decrease his property values, and they backed out. So since then, he says, if you can think of some other property, let me know. And I recommended that one site for a cemetery, but it's $85,000 an acre. It's got to pencil out for them. And that's the problem. And we can't put any money into it. That's not a viable option. The city does have this park property that's down by the gravel pit. Would it be a viable place? Maybe so. It's been proposed, we talked about it in the council as an option. There would be a roughly 4, 5, 6 acres in there. Would we want to put the whole thing into that? Maybe. So that's an option. So when he called me back and told me the situation, I approached another developer who has land in a similar place to the first one. And I said, I'm not trying to dictate to you what you do. I know it's your property, and I said, I don't think it's a money maker, but here's what I'm gonna ask. Would you consider this? And he said, give me his name, or actually give him my name and contact information. He says, do you know where my property is? I said, yes, I do. You give him my name and go with him. And so I called the developer, the guy with the cemetery. I haven't heard back. And that land would not be in our city, but it would be close. Now, is someone willing to donate this annexation of property? Most people are not. Most people are got $85,000 an acre looking, because adjoining lots areas have sold for around that property, or that price, excuse me. So will they do it? I don't know. The developer I spoke to, he said, well, let me talk. He was interested. But again, it would not be in the city. But could that property be used as a, just have to go to the owners and say, are you willing to donate? I have contacted 4 or 5 property owners in the city to see would they be willing to facilitate something like this for us. So that's where we're at on the cemetery. I'd like to see it go
If we
farther
could
than that.
tax the dead, I'd be much more likely to vote for it.
Well, we can, it's just the feds get all of them.
Highland City did one, we lived there before we went to Texas and came back here, and they made a plan, so I don't know what they did, but they sold them ahead of time to the residents.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
everything, and that, so, but when you die, you have to pay a fee to get buried there, and so
Yeah.
that can help you maintain things.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound morbid, but you know.
They pre-sell, in Mapleton, they pre-sold, I'm trying to remember the total numbers, I think they, it seems like they pre-sold almost 500 lots,
Oh, yes.
plots. And, you know, is that viable for us? Well,
So you come in just start right now.
And- depends on what cost to put the thing into place. If they can pencil it out, some of these developers don't care to make money. This one that I've talked to, I think he just, yeah. And he's in a position, I think, financially, and I shouldn't say that out loud, cover that up. I think he is, that if he didn't make a profit, but he broke even, or maybe made a little bit, I think he's more civic minded, that, you know, that's why he would do it, I believe. I have a good feel for the man personally, and so we'll just see. I haven't heard back from either of them since.
So I'm not ready to make a decision personally on city property.
I agree.
Annexation.
I think let's get the codes and look at those before we do anything. And shouldn't we wait until someone wants, like, no
I
one
have
saying
someone who
no?
wants a,
Well,
I
I think we
know
should be more
someone who
proactive in that.
is looking at that right now, and I can tell you what they want to put in.
No, I
Yes.
think it needs to be
Gravel pit.
designated, I think we need to designate
What?
it, and then
Yeah.
you leave it up to them to
Neighbors
annex
wanna
it.
know.
So just out of curiosity, would it be possible, since we only have someone who's interested in just across the street from 11200, what if we started with just that?
That's what they're interested in right now.
So could we just, like,
No.
not today, but I'm saying, we have to do the whole thing commercial or none?
This area has got to be annexed as together. It doesn't make sense if we don't.
The
But
county's
I
not
mean,
gonna
but could
approve
we
an
keep,
annexation.
but could we keep the residential on the one side and
We-
commercial on the other?
We could.
Since we only have,
We could do a combination. We could do, again, what we choose.
I mean, I'm just trying to make
No,
everyone happy.
You'll never do that. You'll never do that.
Oh, sure she will.
Because the guy that wants to have no commercial development is not the guy that's gonna say, I will not pay more property taxes. We have to balance these out. Look at the survey,
I know,
Okay.
right? Very
But-
polarized issue.
but everyone,
very
just like the mayor
polarized issue.
said, as long as it's whatever's in my corner, right? So they're fine with commercial as long as it's not in their backyard. So I'm trying to be sensitive to
Yeah.
those that it is, you know?
And those that want a bedroom community they need to realize that Woodland Hills is a bedroom community, and their property taxes is 300% higher than ours.
It is.
Worth every penny.
to
But
some
the
degree,
thing is,
to
most
some,
people
not
don't say
everyone.
that.
Okay, how much do we pay dollar amount for property tax in Elbridge? $200, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you
Great,
can't,
come
you
to our
can't.
budget meeting.
Oh, I understand
Public
that,
hearing,
but
will you
it's-
please?
It's the way I think it's the way, this conversation we're having, honestly, if you had solid codes that could assure the property owners that are on the other side, that what goes in would be not something we're concerned about, we'd be a whole lot more willing and you wouldn't get a lot of defense, but we don't have those, we're putting the cart before the horse.
Understandable.
And I'm with Ty, like, get your codes written, let's talk about those, and then let's have the conversation, let's annex it, because we don't have to make this decision now, but let's do it anyways. That's what we're doing.
Well, not
You guys
annexing,
have
it's
said
just putting it
we
in the
don't
plan.
have to make this decision now, but we just want to, and it's causing this, we don't even have the code.
Well, in a way we do, because he does have someone very interested in coming in.
Okay, but we
Yes.
don't have codes for it, so we're not,
Well, that's
you
what I'm
guys
saying.
move forward on
That's
that
why
without
we're
the
gonna move.
codes.
No, we're not going
I
to.
know.
That's
I
why
think the overwhelming majority says
How
no.
often how quickly can
That's
you redo
why-
this decision?
That's why I have asked the planning commission
Yeah.
to address the issue.
Okay, but how quickly could we redo that? Okay, say, today, we vote against it. Your next meeting, can't you bring it back up and say, now we wanna reconsider this and bring it back up?
Sure,
So
sure.
how hard is it to leave
We
it
have
alone?
already, we have
until we're
already
there.
put this off at least, what, 4 times,
I
5
know,
times?
but we don't have the code still.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but they're working on it.
But that's, at the planning commission, that's where
That's why
you
put
need to
it
go
off.
and give input to them
You bet.
about it too. I mean, there's some real value in you coming to those meetings and giving them input there.
I know, but that's the thing, is that when we talk about it, it's the same concept in those meetings as it is that we're
We're
getting
trying to
right
be
now.
forward thinking, like you said right now.
No, just this, I'm not gonna lie, my opinion, this is not forward thinking. Cause we're thinking we wanna bring in more money. No, we need to get our house right first. There's a lot of things I believe we can probably do to save money. I don't know the budget. You guys have seen the budget, but maybe there's a lot more things we could do to change things. Yes, there may be additional costs up front, but over the long haul, we can fix that. And as more property comes in, we do get more revenue, but it's not a 1-for-1. We get more revenue and there aren't more additional things that we're paying for. There are some, we're gonna get more roads, we're gonna get a few more parks, but we're not gonna double them. So we're gonna probably achieve a higher amount of income versus the costs, because it's not gonna be a 1-for-1 ratio.
As a general rule, the property tax that each house pays does not pay for the services that are required for those houses.
And I believe that, and I'm
So-
not arguing against that.
No,
but-
I know, but I'm just saying, even though we get more property tax, the
Yeah.
amount that we have to pay increases, and the increase in cost outweighs the property tax that you receive.
We bring in $20,000 a year in sales tax, you tell me we can't find $20,000 in our budget?
Right now we can.
Right now, that's what I'm talking, that's why the whole thing I brought up earlier is that exact thing, is there are other options
No, you're
that
right.
we haven't thought of as a group, and that's because we don't know what we don't know.
But can I say something, because I totally understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I came in here thinking the same thing, like, I'm gonna get that budget and I'm gonna slash it in half.
No,
It does not work that way. Like, this is government stuff here we're dealing with. It's a whole separate set of rules where stuff is not the same. And it's not as easy to make the changes where you think it's easy to save 20,000.
I'm not suggesting that this is an easy
No, I'm just
concept.
saying, like,
This is what I deal with on a daily basis.
our
is
integrity.
dealing with cutting costs, finding creative solutions, and
I
when
have had-
we're not
But so does
creative.
he all day, every day.
And
So
I
does
believe
he.
that, but we only know what we know. We
I
don't
have
know
had
what we don't
one
know.
person, since we have been talking budget in the last year and a half, who's come to me to offer any other income solution except cut the budget.
Well, that's not
We
an option.
cut $160,000 out of last year's budget, and we put things off because there was no money to do those projects. The roads, over the last 3 years, have not been attended to. But I've had one person, and they wanna put in a cell tower. Maybe we'll get thousands and thousands of dollars annually from a cell tower, but I don't think so. And we could put it
I say, did you look
right,
into it? Cause I know what you're talking about. and it's
we
like-
could put it,
like-
and we can maybe get some good money out of it. Where do you want me to put it?
Not in my backyard. I'm just saying what people are gonna say.
That's the
It's
reality.
You see what I'm
We're a
saying?
bedroom community.
I would love to have somebody come forward and say,
Fix it.
I did not spend my life doing budgets and figuring out things. My whole focus was somewhere else. And so now what I'm trying to do, with council's help, is to say, here's the dollars that come in. Here's the expenses that come in. We have to make them equal if it means somewhere we drop something out. And we have dropped some things out for several years. The money that we wanted to put into the park, we thought we had, was not quite what we thought we had. I was informed it was there. It was there for sure. And when we finally started getting down to brass tacks, Royce and I found out there's some money there, but what we thought was there, what we were told was there, was not the case.
And that builder shouldn't be allowed to build because it wasn't there.
Well, and part of it was the
Say, oh,
builder,
you can't-
part of it was just simply how things were recorded.
Mhm.
That's simply the way a bunch of it was. Now, golly, find me another source of income. I'm open, and if we can do it with the cell tower, maybe we can do it with two.
Well, there'd be 100,000 right there.
And if we
We'll
can,
take it. Would you rather that?
could we get $100,000
They
or
make them look like
$50,000
trees
a
now.
year from
Put
cell
a
tower?
They make them
building
like
right
trees.
there.
Oh yeah, have you not seen them
better
built like
service.
trees?
They need better service.
The point,
Yeah, my phone was-
I'm not disagreeing with your points.
I know you're not, and I understand, I'm not trying to be difficult here, and
No, I know
you guys
you're
are
not.
doing the best you can, I get that. But we don't know, and we put, what's going on, whether it's reality or not, the perspective the perception that you guys are giving, us residents, at least the ones that are here, not some are here,
Or,
is that you don't, that's the perception we're getting, is that you're just doing whatever you want to do.
no.
That's the perception we're getting.
Have
And
you
when-
seen any different perception from what we've talked about tonight?
that's why I'm here, but the people that don't come are the ones that feed the
But have you,
negativity.
have you received a different perception from this discussion tonight?
To an extent, but at the same time, we still get stuck in our mindset and we're still putting the cart before the horse. In a lot of ways, and I just wanna see us be more, let's plan it out and really get down and nitty gritty, not just be like, oh, this is a good idea, let's do this, and then we'll worry about getting, and we'll work at the same time in conjunction getting it. I understand we have to be smart about how we do things, but there's also a way of how it's perceived by us.
No question.
So we have to feel like, okay, we did this and this, we see an order to it, or it has to be very clearly explained, like, that's great that you're open to, hey, come talk to me. But for me, as somebody who doesn't never really participate in his life in this until I moved here, it's like, okay, well, how do I really do that? Because I'm working 5 days a week, when I have the weekends off, I spend that with my family. When do I have the time to spend with you? And you're probably not gonna be here when I'm available. So how do we make that work? That's not clear to someone like me. You know, if you're really that open, how are we,
Well,
how
you're
do
a
we
big
open
boy,
that
you
up?
can pick up the phone and call.
Yes, we
So-
can.
Now,
So let me just be real clear here. 5 months ago, I was resident Joe, doing just what you're doing, right? I said, I have to get to the bottom of some of this stuff, so I ran for council. So I'm here, and my goal, and I think everybody on this council probably knows it, is to have not only a deep understanding of where everything is going and allocated, but to be able to explain it to the residents. How do you propose that the best way for me to communicate to a city our size so that those that have no interest won't complain?
You
I don't know how to do it,
No.
but my goal, and you haven't given me a fair chance yet, because I went into this 5 months, I haven't gone through the budget proposal, the truth and taxation hearing, or any of these other fun things I'm looking forward to, right? Because I'm getting some egg proofing for my house, right? But my intention, just so you know, and I want everybody in the city to know, that my intention is to have full and complete disclosure of every enterprise fund that we have and every general fund that we have.
Okay.
Because there's no excuse for our residents not to be able to have that information unless they choose to be ignorant,
I agree with that.
right? I haven't had the form. Now, you please tell me the best form to communicate with everybody that's not here tonight. It ain't YouTube.
It's the city newsletter, like I said. Then
It's not good
Yeah,
enough.
but do they
It's
do
not
it?
good enough because the
It's
depth
the
But
is
they
required.
can't complain because it's been given to them.
But they do,
But
but
they
they do,
will.
but that's
But
exactly
I
what he's
agree.
saying, that's exactly what he's saying.
I just wanna make
Proves
it
that.
real clear.
I'm not trying to,
No, I'm not just looking at you. I want every resident in this city to understand that the purpose, one of my main reasons that I want to be on this council is so that I could articulate to the city where we are, because I'm tired of the rumors. And two, that we could look forward and make sure that everything, that not only is it transparent, but that the things that we do aren't just about us. Why do we I went out and got my own credit card out to run a survey. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to understand the city hasn't paid me a dime for that survey. And I bet I've spent
We can't.
120 hours putting that thing together. I haven't got anything for it. I'm trying to do what you're wanting me to do. And I need a better way to communicate it. But I don't know how to do that. So if you have an idea, golly gee whiz, I think we'd all like to know that. But 5 months ago, I was sitting in the same situation and I'm like, actually it was a little earlier because I saw you guys go through the budget process last year, which was painful. Right?
I love the idea of transparency, and I like that at least you're telling me you're doing that, you guys are trying to do that. But, the survey, like, that's a great example. I wanna know the results.
You'll know.
I wanna see them,
It just
like,
takes me
you have.
180 hours to
I
compile
wanna see them. Your budgets that you're proposing, I wanna see them.
It's
People
all
are on
public
state
information.
website.
I know
It's
this,
all out
but
there.
I want it to be like super, like, I
want
don't.
us to drop
But we
off on
can't
that
hold
sheet?
each resident's hand,
You
it's
can't.
available for you
You
to
can't,
do at
But
your
it should,
will.
I want it, it should be the thing that with us today is, we want it, if it's not easy to get, we're
It's
not
on our
gonna get it.
website,
No,
first
I
page,
know.
for example, like the budget, I
Please.
spent an hour looking for it while you guys were talking about it, I couldn't find it. I
on the
couldn't-
front page,
No, like you said, it was on the state website, I sat over here on my phone for an hour.
utahpublicnotice.com, it's on there as an attachment.
Exactly.
I do that every other week.
I don't know that, that's what I'm saying, I texted my wife, and
Oh,
she spent
'cause-
20 minutes trying to
yeah.
find it.
But see,
That's what I'm saying.
But that information is on our website.
That's
It's
good
fine.
information.
Right,
That's good information.
I don't mean, I'm sorry, I know, so.
You're okay.
I'm sorry, I was gonna.
I'm
email
glad
later, but-
that we're having the interaction.
No, they want to know
This is
that.
some of the best
I was gonna email
interaction
later, but-
that happens. It's appropriate that we have your input. It truly is. Now, we'll make sure that we'll put again, it's on our
It's on
website,
there.
how to get to it from the website. We'll make sure, again, that it's in a newsletter.
I put a link right to the very site where you go in and you select
There's a
the
link.
date. I put the link for this on the Facebook page that I'm running, so it's like, all you gotta do is click on it and it takes you to the date, you say, I want city council agenda, and then it just
Right,
populates.
and no, and I got to the agenda, but like I said, like the word attachment, you can't click on it.
Yeah.
Well, no, not on that document, you can't.
No,
But there's a link.
No,
that
on
you
the,
can-
I'm not talking
Sorry.
about.
No,
the
go ahead,
document, I'm talking
Melanie,
about-
explain.
Okay, so if you go to the website, there's a
City
city council
website?
tab.
City
Yeah,
website?
city council tab, you can go and see all of the minutes and all of the
Right,
agendas from
and
all
I've
the
been there
meetings.
before.
Over in the description area, I've created a link to where you can click and it will take you to the Utah State Public.
Okay, so I didn't see that
website.
link, so.
There's a link right there, and then you can click and you can see all the attachments
Right.
that are related to this.
That's good, because I've wondered that a couple of times when I've gone on.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound offensive about it,
No,
it's
no,
just
now you
that
need
I
to bring it
have
up to
to,
like,
I
maybe you're
have
not doing your job very well, no, you're doing a great job, I was gonna email it later, and it was just, but since we brought it up.
Please.
Okay, but I want you guys to understand too, we all have full-time jobs, or most of us, right? We all have families, we all have other outside responsibilities. And we spend so much time doing city council stuff. To have the residents come and get in our face saying, you're not doing a good enough job, you're not doing it, you know what I mean? It's really frustrating. If you have expertise in this area on budgets or water or sewer or something that we can do better, please take the time to come and meet with me and meet with our staff and take that time to go over and give us ideas on how we can do better. Because we're just like you. We have jobs and family and other responsibilities. And we're trying to do the very best that we can do. But like you said, we don't know what we don't know. And until somebody comes and says, hey, what about this? Like, oh, I've never even heard of that. That's a great idea. You know what I mean? Let's look at that. But a lot of these issues, I mean, you get put on city council and there's really no training. It's like,
It's a one day.
welcome, here you go. Now, and you're supposed to all of a sudden be an expert on, I mean, they have, you know, your 1-2 hour session that you go to, you know, but
Legal training.
4 hour session. Yeah, but I mean, all of a sudden, you're supposed to be an expert in so many areas that, and you just can't. You cannot become an expert in every area.
Jim.
When I moved here, I lived with Brittany in her basement for a while. After we got our house over here, I thought, I wanna know what's going on with the city, so I thought, well, I wander over, city council meeting, see what's going on. And you guys know I'm here most of the time. This here is a good representation. Most times I'm at city meetings, there's nobody here, me and one other guy, most times, that's it. And you can't know what's going on with the city if you don't come to these meetings. A lot of people will say something to me about what's going on in the city, I know what's going on, I can answer the questions, because in the meetings I've heard it. I don't generally have much input, but I just sit and listen,
For
and
what it's
gather
worth,
information.
because Jim has come to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, I chose to ask him to be on planning commission because he is involved. And I respect his input. He works at it. No pay. City council gets a little bit. He gets nothing. I need to bring you a loaf of bread, don't I? Anyway.
Fine.
At least.
But you see, I think what Brittany has suggested, what you have suggested, all very important and valuable, that we, as a city, we come together. I'm the guy that's been pushing some kind of economic development. I have pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. I don't have all the answers. That's why I brought someone down from the State Department of Economic Development. I brought in a banker. I brought in 3 developers. I invited 4 or 5 developers. 2 of them showed up. I have been to the county economic development head. I've been to the governor's office asking the questions. I even asked one person to recommend someone, and he gave me the name of someone who could do a study for us. Is it viable? All I got was nothing. I didn't get anything back, so I took it on myself. And I have spent hours and hours and hours, sometimes just thinking. And so I come up with an idea for an economic development concept in that area. I know it's going to impact everybody that lives in the area. It'll also impact everybody who lives up there, who lives down the canyon, who lives out here on Goose Nest, if it succeeds, or if it fails. That's why I've asked the Planning Commission, help us with this code. These budget meetings, golly, if you didn't make it to the last Truth and Taxation hearing, you really missed out.
We had 2 of them.
The other 30 people who showed up were not willing to spend another dime in taxes to assist us. That's not entirely true, but it's the basic concept of what we see. We've had truth and taxation hearings in the last 2 years. The first one, egg-proof your house. The second one, not much better. The next item on the agenda is, are we gonna have a truth and taxation hearing again? Well, we're trying to get this information. That's what this budget is about. That's what this survey is about. Trying to get as much information as we possibly can to decide where do we put things? Where do we not put things? How do we provide the service? What services can we cut? We look at this and we look at this. It is not uncommon for me to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about this city.
Not alone.
And I get a lot more than they get. I get paid lots more than the city council gets. You could not hire me at this rate to do this profession. And I like our community. I like it a lot. It's been a great community. But after the prayer, I meant what I said. Let this be the community we want it to be. I appreciate your input. Honestly, I do. I'm on the phone. My number's been put in the newsletter, I don't know how many times.
It's in the Daily Herald every day.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder.
His and all the other mayors, they're all admitting every day.
I haven't hit it. I don't return every call that I get. Every once in a while, I'm glad I've got caller ID for some of the calls I do get. But I have met with individuals privately, certainly met here. I communicate with the council. I don't agree with everything that they want. I don't have a vote. I care about our city. If economic development is not what we want, if it's not going to be appealing, if it's not going to sustain the bedroom community, the beautiful community that we've got, I don't want it. And I will fight to keep it out. That's why I wanted to move a little quicker on this, because I know what some people want to bring in. The thing that many residents in Elbridge Meadows vehemently don't want. Now, I just come to the meetings when you can. We'll try to do better at making sure that access to some of this information is possible. This is the best discussion we'll ever have. It will not happen online. It will not happen in a newsletter. It really happens here. And it happens in the other meetings that we have. That's where success is going to come, is when we get more people involved, and I applaud you. I truly do. I applaud those who come many times, and you've expressed your feelings, your frustration, your concerns. We don't take them lightly. Just need to find a way to succeed where we can, as much as we can. We have a part of our city, just as an example, that has their own water system. It's aging. It's not tied into the city's water system. They're your neighbors. Do you care if something happens to their system and it goes out? And all of a sudden their well goes dry or becomes incapable of producing for whatever reason? They don't have fire flow there. I care. And I've been to that too. I spoke with someone just today. They're gonna have another meeting there, and I said, would you please just invite me? I'll just sit back in the corner and just listen. He says, I'll let you know. Can we tie their system into ours? Should we replace their system? They're part of our city. They're part of our residents, just like each of you are. There is a huge, huge city in these small few blocks. There's much that goes on. And even though I was not being facetious, it sounded like I was about running for city council. It needs to happen. I can tell you, and my wife can tell you, that this will be my last term as your mayor. Not because I don't love the city, not because I can't, but because there are other things in my life that I'd like to be able to do that kind of I get sucked into not being able to be anywhere else. So somebody here's going to have to do it. Or we'll appoint someone.
He didn't even look at
We
me.
gotta cover, we'll be the ones appointing, so one of us.
Cause I don't
I need to learn to try.
It's going to just not get out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next. Truth and taxation hearing decision till the next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Ten?
Tentative budget.
Tentative budget.
Do we need to do anything?
Well, I thought we were.
Budget A.
So we're still 13,000 over.
But we can, we'll have that.
We will do the tentative budget at a specified meeting for the final purpose, and it will have to be open to the public.
Sure.
But we will find a date that everyone can live with within the next 2 weeks.
Yes, that's possible.
Would you take a moment right now, look at calendars, if
That's
you
what I'm doing.
know what your calendar will,
Okay, so Memorial Day is the 30th, right?
and we,
Yeah.
and we.
Because Monday's,
Down that weekend.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure. Next
What are you
week.
guys, what are you guys doing on Friday night again?
So the
we're hanging
20
out here till midnight like we did last Friday.
the 24th of May is our next scheduled council meeting. Do you wanna just use that one?
No,
Well, we need to get together before our council
it's
meeting.
gonna consume
Yeah.
100% of our meeting, just budget.
Okay,
I'll be very frank with you, the only night that I have open is Tuesday night on the 1st and 3rd of.
that's the 17th.
Yeah, that's
What
a,
else are you doing?
I've
Oh,
got fire department, I've got
Elsa, what he's doing.
scouting now, cause I'm assistant scout master, I've got other obligations every other night
So
of
the
the week.
17th is an
I
option.
mean,
How
that's,
is it for
at this
everyone
point,
else?
that's where I'm at.
Is that a week from Tuesday?
It's
That's
a week from today.
It's a week from
I
today.
can come
From
Tuesday.
today.
Wait, Nelson, you can't come Tuesday night?
No, Tuesday night
Is your
is,
only, oh,
that's it.
Oh,
I'm
I
telling you right now, that's it for the rest of the month.
I'm fine to set the 17th works for me.
That's the only night I can.
That's the only night I can't, yeah.
I think I.
Between now and the 24th, yeah.
Brittany,
I'm just
Still
checking
checking.
out my soccer games and I've got,
I'm fine.
I coach for 2 more weeks and then the 3rd week,
what's
the
your
week
time
after
frame
that.
on the coaching? What time of the day?
So,
Now remember,
I'm just looking
there's
at.
no reason
make
for
sure
us to
all my
meet
games-
until we have the road information, right?
Yeah,
And
and
the
the
equipment
maintenance
maintenance
schedule,
and.
Which lands on you as well.
I know.
I offer to help out with all that skills.
See, and
Your
I-
time's coming, they can.
I'm doing the city celebration,
Yeah,
which
right,
is
I'm just
consuming
saying.
my life.
Can we have something besides
I am really,
board?
see,
Why
cause
not? I never barbecue board.
I finished soccer on the 21st coaching and then that next week I'm doing tryouts and then I'm gonna hand my team out to another coach. So I will not be coaching next year competitively, gotta get rid of something. We could probably make Tuesday night work.
And
What
If we
time?
start-
Later? Can we
if
start
we
later?
start-
Like later?
If we started at, would 8 o'clock, 8 to 10, give us 2 hours? Is that too late?
I would rather
Melanie just
start-
said no. I heard no.
Did I?
Did I hear you?
No, I would rather start at like 7.
You wanna start at 7?
No.
That is me.
Melanie?
I mean, coach. No, I'm good.
I can do 7.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's all overtime.
I'll make treats for you guys.
Dale?
When I get
7
stressed
to
at
9,
night.
7 to 10?
7 to 10?
It is.
Next Tuesday,
I think we should probably plan on 7 to 10.
Mhm.
okay?
7 till we're done.
Until we're done.
You guys are gonna kill me on my minutes.
Next
Next
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
might
7
be
to
down
10.
here.
And we will be tolerant of the time it takes to do the minutes. I mean,
Thank you.
we're not gonna go beyond administrative, that's not something we're gonna ask. We'll do what we have to do.
Yep.
On that regard. Okay?
Okay.
So let it be written.
All right.
Okay. Truth and taxation hearing decision, we'll wait on that as well.
Yes.
McKay, give us an update. I don't
Yeah.
have anything that I have not already talked about that I wanted to.
Okay, yeah, we've got a lot of different things going on, a few projects, bigger projects. We've kind of been more in training mode lately, last couple of weeks, with the new guys hiring on. But we have managed to get parks and things going and get them under control, get mowing done. Like you said, we are working on getting some price quotes on the meter here for the park. It's kind of a different animal. It's gonna be a bit more expensive where it's a 2-inch line and different things. Also waiting on a quote for the fire hydrant in Lower Canyon to get that brought up. Also planned, yeah, raised.
In the winter, you can't even
You
get
can't
it.
access.
Where is it?
I'll later, let's keep going with knowledge
Yeah.
later.
So, and also a plan B for that for replacement if needs be, or it is an older, more of a problematic style of fire hydrant. So we've got that going. Our RV dump everything is in order for that. We've checked for EPA regulations and those kind of things.
Check with Salem City.
Checked with Payson City,
They're good with that.
we've got their blessing on that, as long as we can regulate hours that it's dumped, what's being dumped, that kind of stuff. But we're about a quarter of the way on that project, we have the sewer stuff being done, we need to run a water line.
How are you gonna regulate? I mean, how do you do, what do you do
It's,
there?
it's impossible.
You put a
to
strainer.
regulate. You can't be there.
Yeah, I know, so what is,
Well,
what's
You
the
walk, put it into granite and put.
What we can legally do, what we can do is identify by signage what is permitted there.
Okay.
Beyond that,
And fine them if we have to
Keeping
save
that-
the diaper.
Doesn't Salem have gate on their?
That's what Salem does, they just, it's an open one there.
Yeah.
Out by there.
Salem is open.
Now, I've talked to Salem's sewer lagoon supervisor, and he says any given weekend he'll come down and he's getting, you know, any type of chemicals and people are dumping all sorts of different things. But it is, it's, you know, it's like an open, a lot of people go there, a lot of people use that aren't actual Salem residents. I don't think we'll have as much of an issue with that. I think we'll be primarily using it for RV dump purposes. There are options to put locks and different things on them, so we'll lock it at night to where we don't have people coming down at midnight and putting things into the sewer system. But, so we will have to come up with some ideas on exactly how we wanna regulate that, especially over the weekend, that kind of stuff, but, so, yeah, as far as projects, I think that's
The well.
kind of where we're at. The well, they've started, obviously they've been here all week drilling on the exploratory well. How many feet did you say they were?
250,
I was gonna say,
and then while I was there, they added on a 20-foot lane.
Whoa.
yeah,
So
they did hit some harder ground earlier on, well, later last week, towards the end of last week. But it sounds like they've pretty well gotten through that.
what they indicated to me, I was down there visiting with them, and they indicated they knew they would have gravel, but it's been difficult. It's been pretty difficult drilling.
Yeah.
It's slow. It goes inch at a time. When they get down a little bit farther, they anticipate getting to static water pressure, and when that happens, it should slip down much, much more quickly. They anticipate maybe as soon as the end of this week, if things go the way they normally do, the test well, they'll be to the 1,000 feet.
Yes.
I don't even hear it. Do you hear them? I don't even hear them.
When you go outside.
You can? And they worked on Mother's Day. They were like working all day. I mean, they're getting that
So they
done.
come in.
There is a
Yeah.
crew, there's a crew of 3 who basically run it during the day. They also bring other individuals in at night to make sure that there isn't, that nothing collapses down inside, and also that the machinery is protected.
Yeah.
But that's part of their contract, that's not an additional charge to the city.
Right. So things have gone pretty well there, so hopefully we are done with that towards the end of this week, so.
They don't know that for sure, but
Yeah,
that's a good guess.
hopefully, like you say, yes, hopefully towards the end of the week, so. But we'll see how that goes,
Thank you.
so.
All right. Anything, Jim?
Do you have any updates on the stoplight and the county road going down?
I'm kind of ready just to go over and sit in an office until someone will respond to my call. I have called, I have emailed, I have texted. I don't know why I'm not getting a response back. The last I heard about the stoplight at the end of at the intersection, we just had an accident 2 weeks ago again down there, was that there was still dollars that had to be allocated, which would be approved by certain landowners. There was everybody was in agreement to sell, but the final pricing was being negotiated still. There was some of that going on. They still said late spring, early summer, when they would maybe get that started. And the same with the extension of what is called Salem Boulevard is what they're gonna call it, or no, Salem Parkway, excuse me. So the light's supposed to be in process now, but I just pulled out my documents again, I'm gonna rewrite them to the county commissioners. I've got 2 or 3 things I'm going to I'll just send out individual letters and say, I need some information back. I can go to the county commissioners and they're more likely to respond to me. I've been trying to just work through the procedure, the right protocol. And so I'm gonna step around that a bit. I didn't wanna do that, but I'll have to.
They've been busy getting that downrange ground broken.
Well, yes, I saw that. Okay.
Do we wanna go over the landscaping down Elk Ridge Drive, walking trail?
Yeah, you were gonna present something real quick.
I've just got a quick, something I threw together, a few pictures, things like that.
Okay.
If we don't.
If you'll get that, is it on there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
while
while
he's getting it ready,
minutes.
yes, go ahead. Let's do the minutes while he's getting that prepared.
Okay,
March 31st didn't get finalized and sent out,
I was
What's
looking
March-
for them like,
sorry.
Was that the
That
one?
was an extra meeting.
Oh, that was the one.
I will
Yes.
hear that too.
That was fun.
okay,
That was our crazy.
So April 12th.
Good still.
Yeah, and it was sent out today after I got it done,
Don't
so if you
worry
guys
about
need to wait, that's fine, I won't
We
be
can-
offended.
no, I'm just looking to see if I can get
Anyone
any
on
annotations.
April 12th that has any questions or
No,
concerns?
they look, I
No.
get these yet.
Motion to approve the minutes for April 12th, 2016. As written.
The mayor had a stroke, by the way.
Huh?
The day the mayor had a stroke.
Was it a stroke?
That was with the mayor.
TIA.
I know, that was scary. That's when we knew you should run for reelection.
Like quiver.
Are you guys okay? I'm good with it, so we can go.
Motion, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve the April 12th, 2016 meeting minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna abstain because I haven't read them all yet.
Can I just ask a couple questions really quick about
Yes.
city celebration? Okay. Gosh, what was I just gonna ask you guys? Oh, okay. So we weren't gonna do vendors. I've gotten so many complaints about not doing vendors.
From who, the vendors or from residents?
You're talking about,
A lot of residents are mad.
so you're talking, when you say vendors, are you talking about food vendors?
No, I'm
or
talking about people that sell.
Craft vendors, that
Sell
sort of a
stuff.
thing?
So we have not finished our map. I don't even know how much room I'm gonna have. But we were thinking maybe 12 to 15 vendors if the map allows, if we have the room. But I don't know, like I was like, well, I'll ask and see what people say. We were thinking maybe like only handmade items or something, like maybe limiting it that way. What do you guys
Or they
think?
have to be Elk Ridge
Or they have to be
vendors
a
or something.
resident here or?
You know what, I think if it was very limited, right, you're like 12 to 15, we've got a small area, cause last year it was like.
It was all vendors
Had over
almost.
100.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, no,
humongous. But, and I think if you put limits on it, right, like, has to be an Elk Ridge resident.
I mean, I have like
or
Ben and
handmade
Jerry
items or
that's
something.
content, you know, I'm having a lot of vendors that wanna come in and I'm like, I don't wanna go to a Winter Dairy booth. Like, what am I gonna do there? You know what I mean?
They
Like,
give out free chocolate milk.
that's true and it is good. I mean, it's not BYU Dairy, shh, don't even say that.
Oh, I heard it. It's no.
But, are you okay with that? What do you guys want? Do you,
Well,
It doesn't
Some
need to
people-
be the focus. That's what we are trying to get away from.
well, that won't, that's what I'm saying, like, we have like 18 games or whatever, you know what I mean? And bounce houses, what, the dunk tank and all that. So it would just be, but I had a lot of moms be like, well, I love shopping at the vendors
That's what I
when my
was
kids
gonna
are playing.
Some
So
people
you're
love
gonna have
shopping,
vendors,
so
like
that's
they're
their-
mad at me about it, I'm like,
Like the boutique kind of thing.
yes. And then some people are like, well, maybe make it hand items only, like it can't be doTERRA oils person and, you know what I'm saying, like it would be the, but
well,
I don't,
I think if you're gonna do it, it's in demand. If we went from 100 down to 15, the price just went up 3-4 times.
see, I didn't think we should charge so much, cause people didn't make very much, a lot of people
Well,
lost.
I know, but you'll weed them out real quick.
Yeah,
But
but,
it depends on.
but I want the mom and pop, to me, that's what I want, is the local feel.
Well, I don't know what they charge the vendors, but I know what they charge me for the car show thing, and Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that
the
was.
car show isn't really happening.
No, I know it isn't happening, but I know that the car show, to be a sponsor, was a lot more than it was to be a vendor.
Yeah,
And all that money went poof, in my opinion,
yeah, we didn't do anything with the car show, that
so.
didn't
Okay.
happen.
I think, you know, the bigger companies are gonna pay more money to have their spot in a vendor. If you want local, I don't think you can charge a ton of money.
Well, we were thinking like
because you're not
25 a
gonna get-
booth.
How much did they
25
get
of
charged
those would be
last year?
cheap.
Like, is that way too cheap?
No, not for a local.
But then I was thinking,
35.
then I was thinking, well, then maybe I can weed through and pick who I actually want, and I'm not getting,
Yeah, but if you're trying to.
35 is what we charged
like,
last
local
year.
people, that's what I want. Elkridge resident, I want it to be the Elkridge City Celebration, not Joe Schmo from Orem who comes and makes a killing, you know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather support,
The reality is, if someone's coming from outside, they're coming to make money for them. We want this to be an opportunity for the local residents to shop, have a good time, I get that. It is not the focus, it is not Elkridge City's focus to make money for someone else.
heavens no.
And if we wanted someone else to come in from outside, maybe we do charge Elkridge City
That's true.
residents. Bring in your bill and we'll, you know, it's $35. If you wanna come in aside from that, it's $100.
It's true. We
I'm
could-
thinking like 500.
Give it to me, Ty.
I'm thinking like,
Goes right to the
I'm thinking
budget.
like milk these guys.
Well, we've already paid for
Whether
the
there
water
you want
part,
it,
they
Ty.
have.
So-
Do we have an application for vendors? I need to come and get
Are
that.
you okay with
This
doing
is
some
a-
vendors?
As
Are you-
long as
I
we
am.
don't detract from the other
I
things
like
they're
it.
trying to
Local
accomplish.
residents
I like
doing their local thing.
You make the decision.
Well, but I want your input because.
These are-
So if we have room and it doesn't
If we
detract
have room.
from the other stuff and it's like more local and a smaller group.
You have booths for
I
old
don't
people, right? Got booths for kid people.
Well,
They're
I
called
had,
kids.
I had, what's, Marcy Jessie.
Yes.
She said last year her kids did it. She said my kids make handmade crafts and they made like $80. And she goes, for them, that's a lot of money. It was great. And I actually bought something from her. I didn't even realize that when she was talking about it. She made these cute little wooden arrows. Anyway, and I thought, you know what? There were some nice things there that were, you know, like nice handmade items and I didn't mind, but you're right, it was too much and I don't want it. That will not be the focus, but
Like, no, I didn't go last year because I was like, oh, there's way too many. Like,
Yeah,
it was overwhelming.
completely lost me.
Okay, then my other question is, I have called the porta potty people. Apparently, it's changed hands, she can't tell me how many we had. Does anyone know how many porta potties we had last year?
I think we only
We can
had
find
like,
out the invoice from
yeah, we probably only had 4.
4 or 5,
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be
Okay.
more than that.
Okay, because they can't
And
find
we
it.
will have the restrooms open up here at the pavilion.
Okay,
So,
okay, that's my only, because I cannot get that nailed down.
Council utilize.
thank you.
Town lines.
Other questions?
Well, that's it for now, other than the movie in the park, but we need to I have to get prices on that before I can.
Do you have any specific needs that the council can help you with?
Well,
You need a grass.
I need someone to take on the movie in the park and the live music, but I can try to find people. I just have not had luck finding people to help, like,
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
it's really hard. And it's overwhelming, and no matter what, it's gonna get done. And we've had sponsors be very generous, and people are fantastic, but it's a lot.
I'll help you out with this, with music. You and I can sit down together and we'll go over some things and maybe we can find someone else who's willing to
Kind of take that on.
take it.
Because during the day, I'd like to have some music going, local music all the time, that'd be fantastic. But
Okay.
we're gonna, it's,
Like you said.
the runners thing is already up, you can sign up for the race right now and pay, and, yeah, we're good to go almost.
some that in the newsletter, give the
Anything
shirts
else?
and
Oh,
the.
each time.
Okay,
So
anything
now you
else?
pick up those,
Yeah.
pick up those things, or are you fixing them, or?
We are investing, we will own all of our own booths.
But it seemed like they needed paint.
I already have someone that has volunteered to paint and fix them all. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Public,
Huh?
public services for garbage cans.
Yeah, I can,
Nelson will.
I will get a hold of public services, I've got the contact, I'll just get a hold of Reese and say,
Yes.
only this time I will be very clear that we need garbage cans, not dumpsters, because last year they thought I wanted 12 full-size dumpsters, and I'm like,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, they're like, are you sure?
But the week of, I would appreciate as much help as I can get. I mean, getting it all set up and we're gonna spray paint it and whatever, you know, so we'll. Anyway, but,
Trash station.
so Nelson, you got trash cans?
Yep.
Cause I didn't even know I had to do those.
Yeah, otherwise that dump truck.
Celebration's gonna be a hot mess.
Republic is usually very good to donate these portable, recyclable cardboard boxes that have been done in the past. And I think that's a good way to go, and Reese has been.
Except by the mayor's dinner plate, you need something bigger than a garbage can from other people eating.
Also, no mayor's dinner.
So we just know who's out of town, we'll borrow their garbage cans.
Yeah, here you go.
Also, when you talk to Reese, we scheduled that to be dumped on the Wednesday, Thursday. And we put a lock on it so it's fully empty.
For that, yes.
Just move it out there.
Yeah, okay,
And there
We
we
just
go.
need to make sure that's scheduled too.
alright.
Very good. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all for now.
Go, okay?
Okay, alright, so, I know last council meeting we debated on this. Mayor wanted me to throw something together real quick. Going along Elk Ridge Drive, this will be the walking path, kind of trying to find a happy medium between this and this here.
I thought that xeriscape looked nice. Dell?
I think, there you go, I think we do,
This is what has been proposed.
Oh, yeah, the one.
And this is what is approved, is to have the grass kind of meander down back and forth across the trail. Kind of set up some pros and cons to this. And then with the xeriscaping in between the grass clumps, I guess, or the grass patches there. Guess my mouse isn't gonna work today. Pros, I mean, obviously it's already approved, it is a good mix between the grass and the xeriscape. To me, it's very aesthetically pleasing, I like the way it looks. Cons, obviously hard to maintain and mow. Problem I see is you're gonna be going back and forth across the trail with the mowers tracking grass back and forth across your trails. Your upkeep on the sprinkler system as well as your design. This is kind of like what we talked about earlier, conserving water. I don't want it to be watering the pathway. It'll be easier to design. It'll be harder to kind of to keep the water off the pathway, that kind of stuff. And from a water conservation standpoint, you know, it's not all that conservative.
So, I just wanna add, my number one issue with that is the safety factor.
Okay.
He
I
doesn't
do
want
not
to
like putting
by the zero.
grass right up next to that road.
Yeah,
Kids will
There needs to
just
be
run.
some barrier for kids down in that road.
sure, I agree 100% with that as well. Like I said, I threw this together at the end of the day. Sorry, it's kind of, it doesn't have everything in it, but just to give you kind of an idea. And some of the things I found, was kind of how we talked earlier, or last council meeting, with doing xeriscape on one side, which would create that barrier. This is also nice as we're plowing snow, throwing salt, that kind of stuff. Your plants, your xeriscaping here on the outer edge will hold up better and react better to the salts and the snow and everything than the grass will. But this will give you kind of an idea. You've got grass right there on the other side of the sidewalk. So it'll give you kind of an idea of what it would look like with xeriscape on one side, grass on the other. Pros will be easier to mow one side, so if you have your grass side towards the inside of the walking trail, you can go straight down it, straight back up it, a lot less maintenance for mowing. It'll be easier to maintain and tune your sprinkler system. Your watering will be more efficient in the fact that those rocks collect heat and dry up the ground faster, more precipitation there what's the word I'm looking for? Evaporation. More evaporation from the water as those rocks put off their heat. The cons will be more grass to mow. It kind of looks like it might end up being more grass to do one side. I'm not 100% sure. You have to get feet and everything on that. One of the cons too is more xeriscaping. Obviously, you're gonna have more weeding, more spraying, more herbicides, that kind of stuff.
Dale has a question.
Dale?
I had a suggestion, I did after last meeting, I was just kicking that around, and I do like the idea of just doing it straight, the xeriscape, over by the road. In fact, I'd be fine with, it's a 50-foot, width there. If we did 25 feet of xeriscape down along the road, you do the 10-foot trail, that leaves you a 15-foot, strip of grass. That actually, the sprinkler systems, with the ones that, with just a spray head, which puts it down like 3 times, quicker than a rotating head, that would basically be about 2 passes with a mower, mowing it straight down.
Yeah.
And, it still gives you, it seemed like there was kind of a consensus, we need to xeriscape this whole thing, but that is it is not pleasant just walking down that trail if you're just walking in the heat and all the rocks. We do need to have, I think along that xeriscape needs to be trees, that are in there rather than just the shrubs. That would be kind of a tree-lined drive. They could be, you got 25 feet, they could be out in the middle of that, and those would be composted, which will trap the moisture a lot. You'll burn your shrubs and stuff with just rocks.
Right.
But that would be, I like that proposal of, that you were looking at of the mix.
Who pays for this? Does Dean or do we?
We actually have, we did not collect any impact fees for the first 30 lots, so it's about $50,000 that the city donated toward landscaping this because it was a major addition, and then it is Dean's responsibility to install it.
Because the xeriscaping, it's a lot more upfront, right, with all the rocks and.
Not
necessarily.
that whole center was going to be like $8,000 to do all of the median from top to bottom with 3 to 4 inch rock. So it's that's not a huge cost.
So and it depends a lot on how elaborate you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen some like Payson's Walmart, how they've put the barriers through the rock and everything for the xeriscape, change colors. I mean, if you get into all that really technical, elaborate stuff, it'll be, I'm sure, much more expensive.
And is it harder to maintain?
I mean, it's about, once it's in, it's probably about.
I mean, do we have a budget that we can spend it from Dean's kind of?
It's Dean's budget.
Yeah.
But he's responsible.
I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, let's spend it because it's there. I'm saying, like, let's make it look nice if we can. Yeah, let's do a good job, especially if it's not coming out of our budget, right?
What Shay indicated is that he was planning, it was like $170,000 to landscape and put in the trail. So he's planning a large, that it'll take, well, that includes, I'm sure, the entry to the city, where the catch basin is. And, that trail will come partway, along the edge of that and continue on up to the roundabout there, so.
Yeah. So here's a couple more. I mean, obviously, that gives you a really good idea of what it would look like. Ours would be a little wider. We'd have a little.
25 feet.
Yeah, a little wider, quite a bit wider. So we'd be quite a bit wider on, but that'll give you kind of an idea. This, putting the boulders in and stuff. Those landscaping, big landscaping rocks are incredibly expensive. That'll give you kind of an idea. Option 3, this is another one, and this is kind of like what Dell was saying, when we put the trees in, we need to get, I think they've used rocks on this one, but we would want to use to mulch that, use the bark.
I think that looks nice with the change of textures and colors though.
So, and it is nice, I mean, when you have the different colors and stuff, it looks nice, it's very detailed,
Well,
it's
maybe
gonna be.
not quite so more.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more maintenance, those are some of the cons to, the more xeriscaping you have, you're gonna have maintenance with that too. You're gonna have weeds pop up, you're gonna have to spray and weed it often. They get out of hand, I've seen them where they let them go and they're just a total mess and they can be worse than just leaving them in dirt. And so it's definitely something that we'll have to keep.
Well, the neighbors are really involved that live down there. I heard that they'll weed it on their own.
There we go.
Yeah, I just volunteered.
Well, we had the most common thing to volunteer for was city beautification.
Really?
There you go. So option 3 would be do xeriscape on both sides. You know, from the water conservation side of it, you're gonna be a lot more conservative. All you'll have is drip to each individual plant with a solid line running through the middle of it. As far as trees and stuff go, if we decide to go with trees, you know, they'll be an efficient system. If done right, it can look really nice. I think this looks good, but I mean, there are some that don't look as good,
Example.
like that one. But then like, this is a great picture because you take out all that grass and replace it with xeriscape, and done right, it can be very nice looking, have a very nice, I mean that, to me, this looks so much better than this side does. That's just my opinion. But I would much rather have that side with the trees and the grass completely out of it than the grass side.
So do you want to xeriscape both sides?
With the,
Not necessarily.
as far as maintenance, the xeriscape versus grass, which one
So I think
takes
what
more to
you'll,
maintain?
I think what you'll get, some of the problems you're gonna see with xeriscaping is you're gonna use a lot of herbicides and that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to watch when you're spraying those to make sure they don't get on any of the other plants. You're gonna have to be pretty careful about it. You're gonna have a lot of weeding. Now, the week to week maintenance, like you're not gonna have to go down weekly and do that, most likely. You shouldn't have to. There's a lot of pre-emergence, that kind of stuff, that sterilize the ground to where you don't have any weed growth. But the week to week stuff, you're gonna have to go down there and mow it, you know, once a week. And so I mean, I think you'll have less maintenance with the xeriscape. The more you xeriscape, I think the less maintenance you'll have. But it's easier when neglected that it gets out of hand faster than your grass does. So.
I have a question. This is probably a dumb question, but, so like in my front yard, I have a ton of succulents, you know? Just, I like the look of them too.
Yeah.
Those things take off. Is it possible to do like mostly, and they don't even need like anything to grow in almost. I mean, they're out of control.
Yeah.
They're like a weed. Would it be cheaper to do something like a lot of succulent, you know what I mean, and then just do a few trees? Cause then, do you even have to water those things?
You'll have to water a little.
Yeah, not as much.
Through July, August.
You will get to the point where you're gonna have to actually go out, thin them out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they'll actually choke
They'll take
themselves
over,
to
yeah.
death, and they'll
Do they?
die.
Cause I mean, mine are, they're out of control, and I'm like, okay, they're not, I mean, other than what the rain is, but they're,
If
And-
they're out of control, that might be the answer.
okay, but they look so pretty, like, with the bright pink flowers and, you know.
No question.
But I was like, maybe we could,
No,
if we
it's-
did something like that, would we even have to,
Yeah.
but maybe it
So,
would be more maintained.
You know, on that, as far as the maintenance goes, like you're gonna have to do, I mean, I skipped it. One of the cons to full xeriscape was that you're gonna have that overgrowth, like Nelson said, like you say. You're gonna have overgrowth, you're gonna have to go in, you're gonna have to trim that back. You will have to maintain that stuff. It'll be more of you go down periodically and you thin
Yeah,
those
like
out
once
and
a
you
year.
weed those and you spray the weeds and you put down your pyramitol, that kind of stuff. Is it gonna be weekly, like if you have to mow it? I would guess not. Most likely you're gonna do it more on a monthly.
But mowing it, you gotta fertilize it, you gotta aerate it.
You gotta aerate it, you gotta water it.
You got a lot of water, and water isn't just about cost
Right.
either, right?
There's electricity, well, that's.
No, it's also about just using the water, because then we have to account for it in our,
Well, and
you know,
going,
just the usage of the
right,
water.
but I'm just gonna sidebar here for a second on mitigation. We're pumping the water out of this aquifer, bringing it to the surface and putting it right back into our own aquifer, so that would be part of it. I just have to say.
Actually, I think you gotta have,
I mean,
you gotta
that's
have some grass.
a good deal of that
you
will
know.
evaporate.
You like the
Yeah,
idea of grass on
practice
one
some.
side and xeriscape on the other.
Yes, but I think the
That
thing
would
that
be,
we need to be aware of, I mean, I was involved in this when this whole thing was initially planned. The reason that it's that wide, there's a couple reasons why it's that wide. One is we want to keep the open fill, but then the other part was trees near the road to have tree-lined streets to encourage people to go slower. If we take the trees out or we bump them further down the road, we just completely undid what was part of the original plan in terms of trying to get people to go
Well, that's
slower.
what Bill's saying though, right? To do
I
the
think
tree
you can
line?
have trees in with your
With your
zero.
Yes, we need,
Yeah.
we definitely need to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, if we don't put
Needs-
as many perennials and other things in there,
Yeah,
so we can have more trees, let's get more trees in there.
yeah.
Because the perennials, eventually we'll be able to split them and,
And that really slows people down putting trees.
oh yeah.
Confined.
It does a better job than
It's
stop
not
lights
confined.
and stop signs.
Especially if you're in the middle of the road.
Actually,
Wait.
actually, he doesn't need a round.
It's getting late, isn't it?
Right on with this design originally. You know, I recommend that.
Oh, I love the look of the first one, it's just that,
What's your recommendation, Dale?
My recommendation is that we go ahead and do 25 feet of xeriscape and trees, you know, through there, and some boulders. The 10-foot trail and 15 feet of grass, which is basically one circuit in each of those sections. And that is easy to mow, that is.
No trees in the grass.
No, when you.
No, once you do
I would
that,
say
then your
no.
maintenance goes out crazy
It
and.
does.
Yeah.
It's just a
That
mess.
weed eater is out there.
Yeah, that's no good.
And,
The-
yeah, as long as, and so we actually need some of those trees that will kind of shade the,
So
shade.
we've got like this is like 1,000-foot stretch that we're talking about, right?
this
Yeah,
is,
it's,
is this where,
1800.
is
I
it
think
where
so.
it drops
So
off,
1,800
right?
feet, 15 feet wide, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of grass to be mowing just, and to be watering just for looks.
Yeah, you can have your dry look, but I don't see that with a
Wait,
zero
18 by
speed
15?
being very attractive.
1,800 feet by 15 feet wide.
That's a long ways.
Yeah, 1,800 feet by 15 feet wide, I'm just thinking, if we're just not, if we're not using that grass for like, you know what I mean? It's not a park, it's not a
Tell me to
play
stop.
space, it's not a,
We'll see what the usage is on the trail, but that will make, yeah.
See, and I think you will have people stopping as they're walking and riding bikes and stuff, sitting on the grass.
Of course.
I think it will be somewhat recreational. How much so, I don't, you know,
Well, this will be right where
But-
you're driving in, right before the roundabout?
yeah, this is your
Okay,
coming
so
up
this
to.
is, everyone's gonna be seeing that as they're driving in,
Yeah.
And-
It's
and
the- it's
probably
the
will be
look
used a
of the
lot.
city.
don't you
It is
think?
the entrance to the city.
okay, so Nelson says it's less than half an acre.
For
It's 27,000 square feet.
Oh my
How
god,
many?
there's so much more.
Yeah, so, okay, so it's not as much as I
For
thought.
safety's sake, we don't want people playing, they're too close to that road.
No, I agree not putting grass on that side, I think with little
It has to
kids,
be
I do not want grass right
And
next
it
to
put
the
it
road.
35 feet away from the road,
Yeah.
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 and you just have a strip of grass.
There, I'm not concerned about that so much.
Okay, and then
Put
probably the
benches
most
in.
important thing about
On the
this
grass.
too, is to remember, this is all contingent on what Dean will or will not do. The first picture was the one that was already approved with the meandering, with the going back and forth across the trail.
Okay,
We need to take our decision to Dean and ask him to consider putting this in. He may come in and say, absolutely not, you guys approved this, this is what I'll do. I don't think he'll do that. He's been pretty good about it, saying that he'll work with us and,
Needs to be reasonable.
but it's gotta be reasonable too. I mean, we can't go in there and say, we want X, 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 X.
Five colors.
Yeah,
Three
you
different
know, it's gonna have to
sizes.
be something fairly basic like what was the original
Cost-wise and
proposal,
stuff.
cost-wise, comparative to what he's already,
but it seems like it might be cheaper to not have to do that.
you know, and I think it would too,
I think it would be.
sprinkler system wise,
We do need to
everything.
ask him.
Yeah, you're right.
But so, we kinda need an idea of what we wanna do, if we wanna do xeriscaping on one side, grass on the other,
That's what you have.
I like Bill's.
Done and done.
suggestion.
okay?
Take that to Dean.
Okay, I'll propose that to Dean and
If you need some
see
help,
if
just
he-
call him.
So,
Yeah, just make sure the trees are in there.
He'll, well, he'll set it up.
Zero speed, yeah.
By the trail. and then,
We need help holding.
Okay, thank
There you go. So,
Oh.
Where's your guy?
good job, McKay, you are doing a great job as our new
I believe
public works guy.
we are okay. Is there anything we have missed? I don't believe so,
Thank you for staying late,
except for
everyone.
sleep. Again,
Sleep, who sleeps? Yeah.
I just want to tell all of you, as council, I appreciate the time that you spend. I appreciate your willingness to think, to listen, to see the bigger picture. I appreciate you listening to the citizens. Remember why you were elected. To represent the citizens is not always to represent what they want, because it may not be in their best interest in the long run. Be careful to broaden.
I do have a question about that cell thing. Can we find out more about that? My brother has a cell tower on his property.
Yeah, I'd be
When
glad.
I tell you
just
it
haven't
brings
looked
in
into it.
millions, I'm not kidding.
It's, the contract SESD has for the one on their property,
Huh?
Right in my
Can
backyard.
you remind us
every
when
single year.
it'd be perfect.
And we went from making 15 grand a year to 50, to next year to be like 60 and then 70, I mean, it's for 20 years.
No, my brother's in Provo right off the interstate, so it's like.
Is it on his property? Is it his contract?
Yes.
Would you either contact him or have him contact me,
I think that- yeah.
And
so that I can have that information?
the other thing,
Provo,
we could probably get.
right right before you go up the canyon, they have towers on the west side of the road, and they're trees.
They look like this.
They look like trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
We
seen
have
those
a
as
big
well.
tree.
So they're,
I mean, would that bug you? Cause I'd much rather have that than something else.
One of the options that I had thought about is, if we were to put it in, is even though we wanna be careful where we place it, we have a totally open area. We don't have a lot of good places to put one. We have to put it on the city property. And so
And it's
I'm
gotta be
wondering-
accessible to the right type of current too.
Yes, it
electricity.
does. So if we put it near one of our well houses, the right type of current is there. We
Okay.
have 3-phase. We could put it along that area. I even wondered, could we incorporate it into the well house itself?
Well,
So
it looks
that
like a
part of
tree.
the structure is a building. The rest of the structure, we can, I don't know, that was a thought that I'd had. So have your brother get with
And
me.
the thing is
Right,
too,
we
cell
want
reception
some
up here
great
is
sidewalk.
garbage. Drops my call. I mean, I'm on the phone most of the day, so on average,
You
it
need
drops like
Verizon.
up 2 to 3
Okay.
gigs.
Well, you got Verizon.
What?
Thank you.
I don't even have
Yeah.
reception.
On
in the
Tuesday.
office most of the time.
Yep.
Tuesday.